If you guys don't have your instances up already, go ahead and open up your instance. And I just want, so a couple different things that you can do. I would suggest going ahead and making a subdirectory, your home directory here. So you can do that. Click on your home folder in the left-hand panel here to make sure that that you can see everything in your home directory. And then you should be able to make a new folder in your home directory just by clicking this little folder icon with the plus sign. And then you could name that folder, I think I already named one with bootcamp content, but something like that. That way you can save everything that we generated through the bootcamp, just move it into that folder. So this GLDS 104, and you can hold the command button if you have a Mac, and I think it's a control button on a PC to highlight multiple files and folders. So if you just want to highlight everything that we did in the bootcamp, you can go ahead and do that. Now we made a lot of files, and just move all of these into that folder. And doing this is just because the command that I'd set up to run will copy everything into your home directory, because we're going to pull in blank files or blank notebooks to start again, or so you guys can start making modifications to them. So I just want to make sure that you don't overwrite anything that you've already generated during the bootcamp. So go ahead and drag all of that into the folder that you created. And so you should have your home directory should now look like this. And then once you do that, I want you guys to go ahead and open up a terminal. And you should wait till you get your command prompt. It should look like what it looks like on my screen here. And then I'm just going to go to the GitHub page. This is where it tells you how to set up for your bootcamp. So in the NCCS SMCE bootcamp setup, in that GitHub link that I put in the chat, I'll put this in the chat again. And we're going to go through all this in detail tomorrow. But if you just scroll down kind of towards the end here under the Getting Started section, right under the server options, I should say it's step 4 under the Getting Started section. So if you go to step 4, there's a command there for you to copy and paste into your terminal. I'll also put it in the chat. So if you go back to the window with your notebook and go ahead and copy and paste and then run that command. And you should see on the left-hand side all of those files that we started with originally populate in your home directory. And so these are all nice, clean notebooks with no outputs. And so if everyone can go ahead and just double-click on their Unix Intro Jupyter notebook. And this is the Unix Intro notebook that we went through at the beginning of last week. And so going over all the commands that we ultimately ended up using during the FastQt accounts Jupyter Notebook for processing RNA-seq data. And I just want you guys to take the next half hour or so to kind of run through this again. And me and the other instructors are, of course, here. If you guys have any questions, you could reach out as you're going through it. But as you're going through it, if there's anything that you think would help your students learn or absorb this material better, I want you to go ahead and modify this however you see fit. So if you want to add more information to one of these blocks that have text in it, you can just, we talking about the errors that come up, Chief?
What is the command? Amanda, you went so fast and we're changing monitors. Where is the command we're supposed to paste in? Is it in the chat? Is it that chat? Is that
Oh yeah, it's that.
//?
Yeah, yeah. So
It's that one? Okay.
yeah, that command that ends in .sh.
Yeah. And where was that? That's in the bootcamp page?
Yeah, so yeah, I'll go
I'm
over.
on that page. I'm trying to find it for future reference.
Yeah, we're gonna go over all this. I added a whole bunch more instructions for how to sign up for time blocks and
There
stuff.
it is. Okay. Copy. I see it. It's number 4. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, if you scroll all the way down to the getting started section of this part of the GitHub, and then number 4 is where that command is. But if you guys have changes to your notebook and you want to use the modified versions that you guys are going to start making now, I've set up directories for each one of you to put your contents in there, and then you can have those ones, have your students copy those ones into their directory when you run it in your home institutions. And so if you haven't done so already, all the stuff that was there from the bootcamp, if you just want to make a subdirectory in your home directory here, so it makes sure you're in home by clicking this folder. And then you can click the add folder button to create another folder. I called that bootcamp content, and then I just moved everything that we worked on into that directory, and you can just drag and drop the files in there. And then after all of your stuff is in the subdirectory that you made, to make sure that you don't overwrite anything that you did during the bootcamp in case you want to go back and look at it. Then in that, open up the terminal window. And if you're unsure how to do that, you press the blue button here, the blue plus sign. Go down to the other section and click on terminal, and that'll open up the terminal window, and then you can copy and paste that command that I put in the chat and press enter, and then that will populate your home directory with these files. And if you guys remember, these were all of the starting files that we did way at the beginning of the bootcamp, the beginning of last week. And so this is the first thing that you'll have your students do when you teach this at your home course. However, these, of course, are the notebooks that Lauren and I taught throughout the past couple weeks. And I know some of you guys were, so I have it. This is also just happens to be the directory where I hold all of the process data that we view for GLDS 104. So you don't want to copy that over. There's a lot of stuff in there. So that's okay. This command is set up only to copy files that aren't in a directory. So you'll see that, and you'll notice if you were to add a -r, you would also copy that folder into your home directory. We only have so much space in the home directory, so I don't even know if there's enough space to copy everything that's in there into your home directory, so I wouldn't do that. But yeah, just that one command, you'll see that error, as a lot of you guys noticed, and it's because there's also a subdirectory in there containing stuff that we call in the notebooks. And so once you run that command, you'll see these files here. So you should see the 2 text files, example.txt and saturn.txt. You should see your example.csv file. That's a CSV file, a table that we use in the R intro notebook. And then you should see now 5 notebooks. And the reason that you see 5 now is because we did the Unix intro Jupyter notebook and the R intro Jupyter notebook and the FastQ accounts Jupyter notebook. And then Elba, I think it was you who asked for a modified version of the DGE Jupyter notebook where the likelihood ratio test is also performed. So I made a modified version of the Jupyter notebook with that likelihood ratio test in there. So
thank you.
Of course. So it's up to you if you want to do the one that we did. It would just be the one that's RNAseq DGE JN 06-2022. If you want the one that I modified to add in the likelihood ratio test column to the DGE table, you could do the one that says underscore with LRT. And so the one that I want you guys working on now for the next 25 minutes is the Unix and the R intro notebooks. And so you can go ahead and double click on the Unix intro Jupyter notebook if you haven't already, and it'll bring it up. And then I just want you guys to, I wanted to make sure that you guys had some time, because I know that we're all busy and you've already reserved this time for the boot camp, that you have some time to look through the content that we went over and make any changes that you think will help you when you teach this to your students. And so just to remind you guys, if you want to edit what Lauren and I have already put in these things, you could just double click on any of these blocks and make changes. Yeah, for sure, Chief. I need to read things a few times too before anything sticks. So you could go through and review them, and if something isn't making sense the way we've defined it and you think you could add some more words or text that will help your students better understand, I want to give you this time to go ahead and do it. So go ahead and you can add something. So if you wanted to add something additional here, you can just type in additional information, whatever you want to add. And then once you're satisfied with what you added, you can hit play and it'll be there. And then same thing with any portions of this stuff. You'll notice some syntax that has to do with the markdown syntax. And so things like this are just set up so that way that step 1B will link to a certain area on the notebook. But some things that might be useful for you guys, I'm not expecting you to learn markdown language. So you could just type regular things, but if you did want to make something bold, you would just add 2 stars at the beginning of what you want bolded, and then 2 stars at the end of what you want bolded. And then when you run it, that will be in bold. And so just for you guys to get used to playing around, making modifications. As you know, to add a block, you hit this plus sign here. It'll automatically assume that you want a code block. If you don't want a code block and you want to add more text, you could just go up here to this part of the Jupyter notebook and change that from code to markdown. And now you can add whatever you want in here, and then just hit the play button and it'll print it out as text as opposed to a command. As you guys noticed, as we were going through, as Lauren and I were teaching, just based on your questions and stuff, we would add additional code blocks and run commands. And so for instance, I'm just hopping down. This is all stuff that yeah, sure. This is all stuff that we do on the terminal. So if you guys remember at the beginning, I had you click the plus button on the left to open up the launcher window, and then go to the other section, open a terminal, just like we did to do this copy command. And then this 1B is all commands from Mike's tutorial. And I did link to, so Mike's tutorial is up here too, if you guys were to want to open up that site. So this is, Mike had put this together through his own work that he does on his own time voluntarily, with just information about how to learn different things that you need to bioinformatics. So he has an entire Unix notebook, which is linked out through here. So we just pulled from that for this 1B section, and you could run this in a terminal that we have here. So following the instructions, you just open up your launcher, click on a terminal tab, that opens up a terminal, and then we kind of toggled back and forth and copy and pasted these commands in the terminal just to get used to the syntax of the commands and adding options before we went into how to run those commands on a Jupyter notebook. And then starting at number 2 in this intro to Unix notebook, we just went ahead and ran some of the commands that we had run in Mike's tutorial, like head, and then, but ran them within the markdown. And so this one was just pointing out that because we're running a Python kernel here, but we're trying to run Unix commands in the bash language, that Jupyter Notebook has a fancy method of being able to run Unix commands within a Python kernel, and that is just by adding the exclamation point to it. And so you'd go ahead and run that, and then you'll see that you can open up your file. And then I have code blocks here to make it so that way the participants, you guys, your students, can start thinking about the syntax. So this one looks just like this one, but then it instructs you to think about how to add or how to view more than just 10 lines. This one asks to view the first 13 lines. So things like this, if you wanted to view more than that, if you wanted to add more examples than that, if you wanted to fill in some of the empty blocks to help your students out a little more, that's pretty much what I want you guys to use the rest of the time for. And we'll be using some of the time tomorrow morning to do this too, for both the finishing up the intro ones and for our other ones. And then just any changes that you make, any command blocks that you add, just make sure that you save it. And then I'll have you guys, once you let me know, or before we before we go to lunch tomorrow, I'll have you guys copy your modified version of the notebooks into a directory that I set up for you, and then I'll show you what command. I already set up commands to be able to have your students run to copy the modified versions of the notebooks when you guys teach it at your home institution. And so I'll show you how to do all that tomorrow, but for today, yeah, the next 20 minutes that we have here, just go ahead on your own, read through it, add things. If you guys have questions, unmute your mic or put a message in the chat and let us know. Okay, everyone, in the last couple minutes, I just want to remind you all, if you guys are into it and in the middle of working and are okay to continue on after we end today, please do so. Continue working as long as you want to make whatever changes that you need to make. Like I said, we will have some time tomorrow morning for you guys to continue working not only on these two, but also on the FastQt accounts and the DGE notebooks if there's any additional notes or additional commands that you want for your students. Just a reminder, when you're done making your edits, just make sure that you hit the save button and it'll save it in your home directory. And tomorrow I'll show you guys how to copy your modified versions to the directories that I set up. Also, when you're done for the day, again, you guys are more than welcome to continue on after we're off the meeting. But when you are done, please, please, please remember to go to File, Hub Control, and stop your server. You can either do it that way, or you can go to File and then click Log Out, and that'll log you out. So when you're done for the day, make sure you hit Save and that you log out of the system.